A sharp voice shattered the air. "What have you done to my car?" Mark turned to see a woman stepping out of the driver's side. She was in her early 40s, impeccably dressed in a tailored blazer and heels that clicked angrily against the pavement. Her blonde hair was pulled into a tight bun, and her piercing eyes locked onto the scratch as if it were a personal affront. I'm sorry," Mark stammered, stepping back from the cart. "It was an accident. I didn't mean to." The old street vendor scratched her luxury car, but what happened next left everyone speechless. The sun hung low over the bustling city, casting long shadows on the crowded streets. Vendors lined the sidewalks, their carts filled with fruits, trinkets, and snacks for the passers-by. Among them was Mark, a man in his early 60s, his weathered face marked by years of hard work under the sun. He carefully pushed his old wooden cart, loaded with freshly roasted chestnuts, through the crowded street toward his usual spot near the busy intersection. As Mark maneuvered his cart, a sleek red luxury car pulled into a parking spot nearby. Its glossy surface gleamed under the fading sunlight, drawing envious glances from pedestrians. Mark glanced at it briefly, admiring its grandeur, before focusing back on his cart. As he turned the corner, the uneven pavement caused the cart to wobble. He tried to steady it, but it veered slightly and scraped against the side of the car, leaving a long, visible scratch on its flawless finish. Mark froze, his hands gripping the cart tightly, dread washing over him. A sharp voice shattered the air. "Ah! What have you done to my car?" Mark turned to see a woman stepping out of the driver's side. She was in her early 40s, impeccably dressed in a tailored blazer and heels that clicked angrily against the pavement. Her blonde hair was pulled into a tight bun, and her piercing eyes locked onto the scratch as if it were a personal affront. I'm sorry," Mark stammered, stepping back from the cart. "It was an accident. I didn't mean to—" "Do you have any idea how much this car costs?" she interrupted, her voice rising with every word. "This isn't some old piece of junk you can just scratch and walk away from." Mark took a deep breath, trying to keep his composure. "I truly apologize, ma'am. I'll take responsibility for it. Please, let me—" "Responsibility?" she scoffed, crossing her arms. "What can someone like you possibly do? Sell a few chestnuts to pay for the damage?" Her words stung, but Mark stood firm. "I may not have much, but I believe in doing what's right. I'll find a way to make it right." Anna laughed coldly, her tone dripping with disdain. "You? Make it right? Let me guess, you don't even have insurance, do you? Of course not. People like you think you can get away with anything because no one takes you seriously." A small crowd began to gather, drawn by the commotion. Mark felt the weight of their stares, the humiliation pressing down on him like a heavy burden. Despite this, he held his ground. "I'm not trying to get away with anything," he said quietly. "I'll call someone who can help me handle this." Anna rolled her eyes, tapping her foot impatiently. "Call whoever you want, but I'll warn you now, if you think you can sweet-talk your way out of this, think again. You're going to pay for this." Mark pulled out his battered flip phone, his fingers trembling slightly as he dialed a number. The phone rang twice before a calm, familiar voice answered on the other end. "David," Mark said, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "Can you come to the corner of 5th and Main? There's been an accident, and I need your help." Anna watched with a smirk as Mark hung up. "Let me guess, you called some friend who works in a repair shop, or maybe a lawyer from one of those cheap billboards." Mark didn't respond, his expression remaining composed. Minutes later, a black sedan pulled up, and a tall, sharply dressed man stepped out. He looked to be in his mid-30s, exuding an air of confidence that immediately commanded attention. His dark suit fit him perfectly, and his polished shoes clicked against the pavement as he approached. "Dad," the man said, his tone filled with concern, "are you okay?" Anna's smirk faded as she looked between Mark and the newcomer, confusion flashing across her face. "Dad?" she repeated, incredulously. "Yes, my father," the man replied, his voice calm but firm. He turned to Mark, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "What happened?" Mark gestured to the car. "I accidentally scratched her car while moving my cart. I called you because I didn't want any trouble." David nodded, then turned his attention to Anna. "I understand you're upset about the damage to your car, but I think we can resolve this without hostility." Anna blinked, momentarily at a loss for words. "And who exactly are you?" David's sharp gaze met hers. "I'm David Markson, chairman of Markson Enterprises." The crowd murmured in surprise, and Anna's face paled. She recognized the name instantly. Markson Enterprises was one of the most influential corporations in the country. David's expression remained neutral as he continued. "Now, let's discuss this matter professionally." Anna opened her mouth to respond but found herself unable to speak. The tables had turned, and for the first time, she felt the sting of judgment, not from wealth or status, but from the quiet dignity of the man she had so cruelly underestimated. The air around the scene was tense as the crowd murmured in hushed tones. Mark put his phone back into his pocket, standing silently beside his cart. The weight of Anna's glare bore down on him, but he remained calm. A sleek black sedan pulled up minutes later, blending seamlessly with the bustling city traffic. Out stepped a tall man in his mid-30s, wearing a tailored but understated suit. His presence was commanding, yet his expression was composed and warm as he walked toward Mark. "Dad, are you okay?" the man asked, his deep voice tinged with concern. "I'm fine, David," Mark replied, relief watching over him. "I just need a little help sorting this out." David turned his attention to the sleek luxury car parked a few feet away. He noted the scratch running along its side, glancing at Anna, who stood with her arms crossed and a disdainful look on her face. "Is this the owner?" David asked, gesturing toward Anna. "Yes," Mark said. "I accidentally scratched her car while moving my cart. It was my fault, and I've apologized, but an apology doesn't fix this, does it?" Anna interjected, her sharp voice cutting through the air. She looked David up and down, her lips curling into a faint smirk. "So, you're the reinforcement? What, are you here to offer some pocket change to cover the damage?" David ignored her tone, his gaze steady. "I'm here to ensure that my father is treated fairly while we resolve this matter," Anna scoffed, taking a step closer to him. "Fairly? Your father damaged my car, and I have every right to demand compensation. Do you even know how much this car costs?" David tilted his head slightly, his tone measured. "I imagine it's worth quite a bit, but that doesn't excuse rudeness or lack of respect." "Respect?" Anna's voice rose, drawing more attention from the onlookers. "Let me tell you something, Mr. whatever your name is. Your father is a street vendor. He scratched a car that's worth more than he'll make in a lifetime, and now you show up dressed like this, trying to act like you're some kind of negotiator." David's face remained calm, though his jaw tightened ever so slightly. "Miss Harper, I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to ensure we find a solution that works for everyone." Anna narrowed her eyes. "Works for everyone? The only thing that works is your father paying for the damage he caused, and judging by the looks of him, and you, I doubt that's going to happen anytime soon." David took a step back, folding his arms across his chest. "Miss Harper, let's focus on the issue at hand. The scratch on your car is unfortunate, but accidents happen. My father has already apologized, and we're more than willing to cover the cost of the repair." Anna raised an eyebrow, her skepticism evident. "Oh, really? And how exactly do you plan to cover it? Do you even know how much this repair will cost?" This isn't just some dent on a cheap car. This is a custom paint job on a luxury vehicle. Do you have any idea what you're talking about?" David nodded slowly, his tone steady. "I'm well aware of how expensive such repairs can be, but rather than escalating the situation, I'd suggest we get an estimate from a reputable shop and go from there." Anna laughed humorlessly. "An estimate? You're acting like you have any say in this. This isn't a negotiation. I want compensation, now, or I'm calling the police." Mark, who had been standing quietly to the side, finally spoke up. "Ma'am, please. My son is only trying to help. We'll take care of it, I promise." Anna shot him a glare. "And how exactly are you going to take care of it? Selling more chestnuts? Let's be real here." The tension in the air was palpable. The crowd had grown larger, and murmurs of disapproval toward Anna's attitude began to ripple through the bystanders. David, sensing the growing unease, took a calming breath and addressed Anna again. "Miss Harper," he said, his tone unwavering, "I understand your frustration. No one likes having their property damaged. But the way you're treating my father is unacceptable. He's a hard-working man who made an honest mistake, and he's doing his best to make amends. Let's not turn this into something it doesn't need to be." Anna's expression hardened. "Unacceptable? Let me make something very clear. Your father damaged my car, and now you're standing here lecturing me about what's unacceptable? The only unacceptable thing here is your refusal to take responsibility." David's eyes met hers, his calm demeanor never faltering. "We're taking responsibility. What I'm asking for is respect and civility as we resolve this." Anna crossed her arms tightly, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, respect and civility. How noble. You must think you're quite the hero, don't you?" David didn't respond to the jab. Instead, he took a step forward, his gaze steady. "Miss Harper, my father and I are prepared to handle this in a professional manner. If you'd prefer, we can take this to a more formal setting, perhaps at my office." Anna laughed sharply. "Your office? And where exactly would that be? A street corner? A back alley?" David's lips curved into a small, enigmatic smile. "I think you'll find it's a bit more formal than that. I'll give you the address." The crowd, sensing a shift in the dynamic, fell silent. Anna hesitated for the first time, her confidence wavering as she tried to decipher David's calm assurance. "Fine," she said finally, her voice laced with irritation. "But I warn you, if this is some kind of joke, you'll regret wasting my time." David nodded. "I assure you, Miss Harper, this is no joke. We'll see you at my office." As Anna stormed back into her car, David turned to his father and placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Don't worry, Dad. We'll handle this." Mark looked up at his son, his eyes filled with a mixture of pride and gratitude. "Thank you. David, I don't know what I'd do without you." David smiled. "You've done more for me than I could ever repay. It's my turn to take care of you." With that, the two walked toward David's car, leaving the murmuring crowd and a fuming Anna behind. The next morning, Anna arrived at the address David had provided, her sleek luxury car pulling into the circular driveway of an imposing skyscraper. The name Markson Enterprises was emblazoned in bold silver letters above the building's glass entrance. Anna froze, gripping the steering wheel tightly. "Markson Enterprises?" she muttered to herself, a flicker of recognition crossing her face. She quickly shook off her unease, reminding herself of the purpose of her visit. It doesn't matter who he works for, he still needs to pay for the damage. Adjusting her blazer, she stepped out of her car, heels clicking confidently against the polished marble steps as she entered the lobby. Inside, the atmosphere was a stark contrast to the chaos of the previous day. The pristine reception area was bathed in natural light, streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. Employees in sharp suits moved purposefully, their conversations hushed but focused. Anna approached the front desk, where a receptionist greeted her warmly. "Good morning, Miss Harper," the receptionist said. "Mr. Markson is expecting you. Please take the elevator to the 42nd floor." Anna blinked, momentarily thrown off. Mr. Markson?" she repeated. "Yes, Mr. David Markson, our chairman," the receptionist replied with a polite smile. Her heart skipped a beat as she entered the elevator, her confidence beginning to waver. Could David be the David Markson? The man behind one of the most influential corporations in the country? "No," she muttered under her breath, trying to dismiss the thought. It can't be. When the elevator doors opened, Anna stepped into an expansive office suite. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city skyline, and the air was thick with quiet authority. David stood near a large oak desk, reviewing a stack of documents. "Miss Harper," he said, looking up with a calm smile. "Thank you for coming." Anna hesitated before stepping forward, her mind racing. The realization hit her like a freight train. David wasn't just someone who worked for Markson Enterprises. He was the chairman. "You're the David Markson?" she asked, her voice faltering. "Yes," he replied simply, gesturing for her to sit. Anna remained standing, her composure cracking. "Why didn't you tell me yesterday?" David shrugged lightly. "You didn't ask, and frankly, I didn't see how my position was relevant to resolving the issue with your car." Her face flushed with embarrassment, but she quickly masked it with indignation. "So, what now? Are you going to use your power to avoid paying for the damage?" David's expression hardened slightly, his calm demeanor unshaken. On the contrary, Miss Harper. I called you here to ensure we resolve this matter fairly. Please, sit." Reluctantly, Anna sat in the chair opposite his desk, crossing her arms defensively. David opened a folder on his desk and slid a document toward her. "Before we proceed, I think it's important for you to understand a few things." Anna picked up the document, her brows furrowing as she scanned the contents. It was a financial report from nearly a decade ago. Her family's company, Harper Enterprises, had narrowly avoided bankruptcy. This was during the financial crisis, David explained. Your family's business was on the brink of collapse. Do you remember what saved it? Anna frowned, her defenses slipping. A last-minute investment. A small firm agreed to back us when no one else would. David nodded. That firm was owned by my father, Mark. He believed in your family's potential when no one else did. Anna's mouth fell open, her mind racing. Your father? Yes, David said, his voice steady. The man you berated yesterday, the man you called insignificant and incapable, he's the reason your family's business survived. Without his support, Harper Enterprises wouldn't exist today. The weight of David's words settled over Anna like a lead blanket. Memories of her family's struggle resurfaced, along with the gratitude her parents had expressed for the mysterious benefactor who had saved them. I didn't know, Anna stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. David's expression softened slightly. I understand that. But your actions yesterday were unacceptable, regardless of what you did or didn't know. Anna looked down at her hands, guilt creeping into her features. I was angry. I let my emotions get the better of me. Much is clear, David replied. But anger doesn't excuse cruelty. My father has spent his life helping others, often at great personal cost. He didn't deserve the way you treated him. Anna's head shot up, her defenses returning in a flash. I didn't ask for this lecture. Are you trying to humiliate me? David leaned forward slightly, his voice firm but measured. I'm not trying to humiliate you, Miss Harper. I'm trying to teach you a lesson about respect, one that my father taught me years ago. No amount of wealth or success gives anyone the right to belittle others. Anna's pride and guilt waged a silent war within her. She wanted to lash out, to shift the blame, but she knew deep down that David was right. Her actions had been petty and cruel, a stark contrast to the values her family had always tried to uphold. "I didn't realize," she began, her voice trailing off. David nodded. "Now you do. And the question is, what will you do with that understanding?" For the first time in years, Anna felt truly humbled. She glanced at the financial report on the desk, then back at David. "I owe your father an apology," she said quietly. "Yes, you do," David replied. "And not just to him. You owe it to yourself to reflect on why you acted the way you did and how you can prevent it from happening again." Anna stood, her hands trembling slightly. "May I speak to him?" David nodded, a faint smile crossing his lips. "He's expecting you. Let's go." As they left the office together, Anna felt a mix of shame and determination. She didn't know what the conversation with Mark would bring, but for the first time in years, she felt the stirrings of change within herself. As David and Anna walked through the halls of Marks & Enterprises, the weight of their earlier conversation lingered in the air. They entered a quiet meeting room, where David gestured for Anna to sit. He poured a glass of water for her before sitting across the table, his demeanor calm but purposeful. "Before you meet my father," David began, his tone thoughtful, "there's something I need you to understand." Anna looked at him warily. "What now? Haven't you made your point already?" David smiled faintly, though his eyes remained serious. "I think you need to know who you insulted yesterday. Not just the man who saved your family's business, but the person behind that kindness. My father wasn't always the man you see today," David started, leaning back in his chair. "He grew up in poverty, working odd jobs from the time he was a boy just to help his family survive. They lived in a small town with little opportunity, and every cent he earned went to keep food on the table." Anna's expression softened, curiosity flickering in her eyes despite her defenses. "When I was born, my father was working 12-hour days as a mechanic. He wanted something better for me, but the only way to afford it was through relentless hard work. He'd come home exhausted, his hands covered in grease, yet he always made time for me. He taught me the value of honesty, kindness, and perseverance, values he lived by every single day." David paused, his voice growing steadier as he continued. "When I was old enough to understand, I asked him why he worked so hard for other people, even when it seemed like they didn't appreciate it. He said, 'Because the world doesn't change if we only think of ourselves.'" Anna looked down, her fingers tracing the edge of the table. "Saved everything he could to start a small business," David said. "That business grew into what Marks & Enterprises is today. But even as the company flourished, he never forgot where he came from. That's why he still pushes a cart and sells chestnuts. He says it keeps him grounded and reminds him of the people he's working to help." "Yes, it does," Harvey said, his memory of Farmer Benefactor already clear in his mind. The black face was a little red, though his eyes shone brightly. David leaned forward, his gaze steady. "Now, here's the situation. My father was willing to let this incident go. He doesn't hold grudges, and he believes in forgiveness. But I can't let your behavior slide without consequences." Anna straightened in her chair, her defenses rising again. "Consequences? Are you trying to punish me for a scratch on a car?" David shook his head. "This isn't about the car, Anna. It's about the way you treated my father. You publicly humiliated him, assuming he was beneath you simply because of his job and appearance. That behavior cannot go unchecked, especially not in this company." "What do you want from me?" Anna asked, her voice tinged with frustration. David's expression grew serious. "I want you to publicly apologize to my father, in front of the entire company." Anna's jaw dropped. "What? You can't be serious." I am, David replied firmly. My father has spent his life showing kindness and respect to others, even when he didn't receive it in return. You owe him the same courtesy. If you do this, we'll consider the matter resolved. If not, he let the sentence hang in the air, the implications clear. Anna narrowed her eyes. You're trying to humiliate me. This isn't about justice, it's about revenge. David shook his head. If I wanted revenge, I wouldn't have given you a choice. This is about accountability. You have an opportunity to take responsibility for your actions and show that you're willing to learn from them. Anna's mind raced as she grappled with David's demand. The thought of standing before a room full of people and admitting her wrongdoing was mortifying. Her pride screamed at her to refuse, to walk away and let her lawyers handle the fallout. But a quieter voice whispered something else. She thought of her family's business and how close they had come to losing everything. If Mark hadn't taken a chance on them, her life would be unrecognizable today. Taking a deep breath, she looked at David, her expression a mix of defiance and vulnerability. What happens if I refuse? David's gaze didn't waver. Then we'll pursue this matter legally. But I think we both know that an apology is the right thing to do, not just for my father, but for yourself. After a long pause, Anna exhaled sharply, her shoulders slumping slightly. Fine, she said, her voice quiet but resolute. I'll do it. David nodded, a glimmer of approval in his eyes. Good. My father will be here shortly. I suggest you prepare yourself. As Anna sat alone in the meeting room, waiting for the man she had wronged, she felt the weight of her choice settle over her. For the first time in years, she was about to confront not only her actions, but the person she had become. The following afternoon, Marks & Enterprises hosted a team meeting in their grand conference hall. The space buzzed with anticipation as employees whispered amongst themselves about the unusual agenda. Anna Harper stood near the back of the room, her confidence replaced by visible unease. She sat with both hands on the arm of the chair waiting for her turn. She was prepared for it, though. David approached her with a calm demeanor, his voice steady. Are you ready? Anna hesitated, clutching her handbag tightly. Do I really have to do this in front of everyone? Yes, David replied. Accountability requires courage. You can do this. Anna swallowed hard, then nodded. David stepped to the front of the room and addressed the assembled staff. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for gathering on such short notice. I want to take a moment to talk about the values we hold dear at Marks & Enterprises: integrity, humility, and respect for all people, no matter their background or position in life. The room fell silent, the employees hanging on to his every word. Recently, an incident occurred involving my father, Mark, David continued, his tone serious. It highlighted a lesson I believe is crucial, not only for our company but for how we interact with the world. To help share this lesson, I'd like to invite Miss Harper to speak. All eyes turned to Anna, who hesitated before stepping forward. Her face was pale, but her voice carried a quiet resolve as she spoke into the microphone. Good afternoon, she began, her voice slightly shaky. I want to start by saying that I'm here to admit to a mistake that has taught me an important lesson about respect and humility. She paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. Yesterday, I met Mark under unfortunate circumstances. In my frustration over a minor accident, I lashed out at him without thinking, assuming the worst, simply because of his appearance and job. The room was still, the employees exchanging glances as Anna's words sank in. My behavior was unacceptable, she said, her voice steadier now. I disrespected a man who has shown more kindness and integrity in his life than I've ever witnessed, and for that, I am deeply sorry. She turned toward Mark, who sat quietly near the front of the room, his expression unreadable. Mr. Mark, I owe you an apology, not just for my words, but for the arrogance and prejudice that fueled them. I hope you can forgive me." The room remained silent as all eyes shifted to Mark. Slowly, he stood, his weathered face calm yet warm. He walked to the front of the room, the weight of the moment visible in his deliberate movements. "Miss Harper," he began, his voice gentle, "I accept your apology." Anna's shoulders sagged in relief, but Mark wasn't finished. "Life has taught me many things," he continued, his gaze sweeping over the room. "One of the most important lessons is that respect is not something we give based on wealth, status, or appearance. True respect comes from recognizing the dignity and worth of every individual, regardless of where they come from or what they do." He turned to Anna, his eyes kind. "You made a mistake, but you also took responsibility for it. That takes courage, and it shows that you're willing to learn. That's all anyone can ask of another person." Anna's eyes glistened with unshed tears, and she nodded silently. The employees, many of whom had been skeptical of Anna, were visibly moved by the exchange. A few began clapping, and soon the room erupted into applause. David joined his father at the front, placing a hand on his shoulder. "This is what leadership looks like," he said, his voice carrying over the applause. "Not just in business, but in life. My father's strength has always been his ability to forgive and inspire others to be better." Mark smiled modestly, waving off the praise. "I'm just an old man who believes in giving people a second chance." After the meeting, employees approached Mark and Anna, offering kind words and expressions of support. Anna lingered near the back of the room, her heart lighter than it had been in years. David found her there, his expression soft. "You handled that well." Anna looked at him, a faint smile on her lips. "I don't know if I deserved his forgiveness, but I'm grateful for it." David nodded. "My father has always believed that forgiveness is more for the giver than the receiver. It's his way of bringing peace to the world, one person at a time." Anna looked toward Mark, who was chatting with a group of employees, his laughter filling the room. For the first time in years, she felt the stirrings of true respect, not just for him, but for the values he represented. As the meeting concluded, Anna approached Mark once more. "Mr. Mark, if there's ever anything I can do to repay your kindness, please let me know." Mark smiled warmly. "You've already done it by opening your heart to a new perspective. Just remember this moment and treat others with the same respect you hope to receive. That's all I ask." Anna nodded, her resolve strengthened. She left the building that day with a newfound sense of purpose, determined to carry the lessons she had learned into every aspect of her life. Weeks passed, and the impact of that pivotal day rippled through everyone involved. Hannah, once known for her sharp tongue and haughty demeanor, began to undergo a transformation. She started reflecting on the lessons Mark and David had imparted, and realized how hollow her previous values had been. Anna redirected her energy into meaningful endeavors. Inspired by the story of Mark's sacrifices and kindness, she reached out to David to propose contributing to the charitable projects spearheaded by Markson Enterprises. David, recognizing her sincerity, welcomed her into the initiatives. Together they worked to expand programs aimed at helping underprivileged families and small businesses. Anna's efforts were more than just financial contributions. She volunteered her time, visiting communities in need and mentoring young entrepreneurs. Slowly but surely, her reputation shifted from that of a cold, distant woman to a compassionate and active member of society. At Markson Enterprises, David found renewed purpose in his work. The experience with Anna reminded him of the principles his father had instilled in him. Success meant little if it didn't positively impact the lives of others. Under David's leadership, the company adopted new policies to promote sustainability and social responsibility. Partnerships with small vendors were prioritized, and more programs were launched to support employees and their families. Mark's story became a cornerstone of the company's culture, inspiring countless workers to strive for integrity and kindness in their daily lives. David often sought his father's counsel, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. Mark, though content to stay out of the spotlight, was proud to see the values he had cherished now shaping the direction of a major corporation. One day, Anna approached Mark during a meeting about an upcoming charity project. She hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Mr. Mark," she began, her tone filled with sincerity, "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, that respect isn't about wealth or status. I didn't understand it before, but now I do. You've given me more than forgiveness. You've given me a second chance to be better." Mark smiled warmly. "That's all I ever wanted, Anna, and from what I've seen, you've used that chance well." Her eyes softened, gratitude evident in her expression. "I owe you and David so much. If there's ever anything I can do for you..." Mark chuckled. "You've already done it by passing kindness forward. Just keep doing that." Months later, the three stood together in front of a newly opened community center, one of Marks & Enterprises' latest charitable projects. The building was bustling with activity, its walls adorned with photos of local families and individuals whose lives had been changed by the initiative. Mark, dressed in his usual simple attire, looked around with pride. "This is what it's all about," he said, "giving people the tools to build a better future for themselves." David nodded. "And it's just the beginning. There's so much more we can do." Anna stood beside them, her smile radiant. "You've both shown me what it means to truly make a difference. I'm honored to be a part of this." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the center, Mark reflected on how far they had all come. The incident that had started as a moment of conflict had blossomed into something far greater, a shared mission to spread kindness and respect. "Life has a funny way of teaching us what we need to know," Mark said quietly. David glanced at him, a small smile playing on his lips. "And the most important lessons come from the people we least expect." Anna, standing on Mark's other side, nodded in agreement. "I'll never forget what I've learned from both of you. It's changed my life in ways I never thought possible." The three of them posed for a photo with the staff and families at the center, their smiles genuine and full of hope. The camera captured the moment, a symbol of redemption, unity, and the enduring power of kindness. As they walked away from the center, Mark, David, and Anna felt the quiet satisfaction of knowing they were part of something meaningful. The future stretched before them, filled with opportunities to continue spreading the values that had brought them together. And though their paths had started in vastly different places, they now walked side by side, united by the belief that even the smallest actions of kindness and forgiveness could create ripples of change in the world. Thank you for watching this touching story about respect, kindness, and the power of second chances. Mark, David, and Anna's journey reminds us that true value lies not in wealth or status, but in how we treat one another. It's a powerful lesson that even small acts of kindness can inspire lasting change. If this story moved you, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and let us know in the comments what part of their journey inspired you the most. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss more stories that touch the heart and remind us of the beauty of humanity. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you in the next video.